practically perfect under heaven, okay? I just have to say that right now. And what you see is what you get. He's like that all the time. He is always almost practically perfect. However, there's one thing that my dad does since I was little that just bugged me. And I said, my husband, when I get married, this is amazing. This is the one thing I could say about my dad. I'm going to have a husband that when I say, hold on, I need to get one more thing before we go to church, doesn't do. Now, my dad wouldn't complain, he wouldn't say anything, he wouldn't yell, he wouldn't be demeaning. My dad is practically perfect. But the one thing, so he picked me up for church one day, we were dating, he picks me up in front of the dorms, and I come out of the girls' dorms, and I say, oh man, I forgot something. He goes, you want to go back? I said, no, it's all right, really. Because I was used to, once you're on the road to church, you don't turn around. Right? I was sort of conditioned that way. Otherwise, oh, no, really, it's really fine, Sky. I don't mind. We're early. We're doing good on time. Here, let me turn around for you. I was sitting back in that seat and I'm going, oh, he's the one. Because those things that were different about us first attracted me. It was like, wow, this is so exciting. This is great. And I'm always rushing. Let's go. Let's move it. And he just sort of calm and go, let's enjoy the scenery. Let's enjoy life. I'm going, this is great. And then all of a sudden we got married and we're going, 2-3 months, and I'm going, okay, you can hurry up now. It's time to get moving. Or he was so quiet, but he was such a great listener. I'm going, don't you have anything to say?
A bilingual marriage. What she's saying, what I'm hearing. So, the classic example is, honey, what do you think? Is that a trick question?
She asks me questions.
What are you thinking?
I'm a guy. I'm thinking nothing. Zero, zilch, zip, nothing. She's a girl. Girls cannot think nothing. That never happens. When her mind is blank, there's still billions of calculations flying through it. Angles being considered, thoughts being processed and organized. She's like a 4 gigahertz, 256 terabyte file-serving computer. I'm like that little solar calculator that comes free with cigarettes. I still spend time with other guys. Me and the guys go out, we talk to each other. Never once have I ever said, hey, Al, what you thinking? Because I don't care.
Hurt by something that he said. And he goes, honey, he goes, slow down. He goes, what did you hear? And all of a sudden he goes, that's not what I said. And all of a sudden he tries to explain in a different manner, so our communication's a little bit more clear from what he said to what I heard.
Now, we had an example last night. What was it?
Andrew.
Yes. No, you gave me something to do. You were talking to me and you were like, okay, I need you to take care of, I was working on her website. It's like, I need you to work on the website and I need you to do something with Andrew. And I didn't even hear the second part. I had a goal. I didn't even hear it. It was like completely. So she's like, did you hear what I said? I'm like, yeah, you told me. No, the other thing. I'm like, what other thing? I have no idea.
So just because you sometimes want to clarify does not mean it needs to be a hurt feeling. So I sometimes will have to stop and slow down and say, hey, by the way, did you hear that? Or did you remember that? Or did you get what I was saying earlier? Just keeping close communication, because everything should be peaceful. We should have a peaceful home. And because I'm his companion, there'll be times when, by the way, you wanted to be reminded about this. And sometimes we have to make sure that when we're doing our communication, that it doesn't become nagging,
right.
Or it's not another problem.
In fact, this is one of those things that actually run across in the communications parts of these marriage books and different things, is that to make sure that you're being what you're saying and what somebody's hearing is the same thing. It's the classic example that comes up when you're learning to communicate. And usually it's also referenced when couples are learning to argue, to make sure that you actually are saying the same thing or understanding the same thing. But we are very different people, both men and women. Generally, men tend to be more goal-oriented. We have our work, we have our job, and that tends to be what our self-esteem is built on, right? We have our job, we have our career. Those things are things we grow up and taught to compete, and that's a good thing, right? But it can also be a challenge when it comes to marriage. If everything is a goal-oriented, we have to make sure that we have our sights on the right goal. One of the classic examples would be at least for early marriages, is that guys might see getting married as the goal and not being married. So that's one of those things.
However, for women, what we end up doing is, yes, we can do great in the workplace. We can achieve these things. Oh, we have this degree. We have this thing that we have accomplished. And that's wonderful, but that's not where we actually get a lot of our value from, becomes through relationships. We actually value those relationships more than we do a work scenario or a competition or things like that. So all of a sudden, when we're ready to sit there and have this relationship, he is thinking, but we've already gotten married. But we've already achieved this. We're doing great. Oh, look, we've already hit 17 years. We're doing awesome. We have achieved the goal. And for us, it's like we're still on the journey. Let's keep going. There's more to talk about. He goes, what's left? So there is a lot of that. Here it's about meeting needs. Think about it. This summer, I was like, I start school on Tuesday, and what have I accomplished? I've done this with Aaliyah, and I've done this for a friend, and I've done this, and all of my things set out. Yes, I did things, but they were all people-oriented. It was relational.
So there's a great opportunity to work together there and to complement each other, but we are different and make sure that we're not hurting each other's doings and, causing strife in our marriage. There's a certain amount of vulnerability that comes into play when you're in marriage, and that needs to be protected and make sure that we aren't using these things against each other.